Hi, it's Bill. Coming up next is my interview with Allistair McCaw, who's a sports performance coach from South Africa. You are not going to want to miss this. All right, we're back. 5 questions. My buddy, Allistair McCaw, originally from South Africa. He started off as a tennis player, but this man does it all. He's an elite athlete, kind of like myself, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So tell me this. So you started off as a tennis player. Tell me about your first tennis coach.
First tennis coach, good question. Her name was Jean Meyer.
Okay.
Was at our local club in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Right.
Jean was a fantastic player, but even more so a better coach.
Right.
Funnier memory is that first time I got signed up to go with her, I actually missed the practice because I was so scared. I was so intimidated.
A little nervous?
I was a little nervous. I was so intimidated to go with the other kids, and I didn't think my game was good enough.
Okay.
And I remember getting home and telling my mom and dad that I didn't go to practice, and they asked why, because I felt a little intimidated, but from there I went and enjoyed it.
And kind of fell in love with it and
I did. I mean, I was one of those guys where I'd be at practice, after I got over that hurdle, half an hour before, hitting against the wall, staying afterwards as well. I mean, some of my memories are just playing until it was dark and then going home,
Cool. Is there something that you could tell us about, the average club player that maybe they should kind of work on, one thing to kind of focus on?
The main area that everybody can work on is their mindset.
Okay.
Belief in yourself, belief in your game, especially creating great habits in practice. As your practice is how you're going to play, and that's not just from your skills and your game. That's from the way you think as well.
Right.
So I think that's definitely one area we can all work on. If there's something else, definitely flexibility, because that doesn't get better with age.
Right.
So
you got to keep working on that.
Yep.
So, well, I heard you talk about Twisted Sister some time ago. Tell us what your favorite rock band is.
I would probably have to say Van Halen.
You can't go wrong with a classic, right?
No, we can't go wrong with Van Halen.
Good stuff. Favorite song from Van Halen, maybe?
Jump. Of course.
Of course. He's a performance man.
Yeah.
It's got to be Jump, right?
Plyometrics, Jump.
There you go. All right, so Allistair, we need to know this. Are you a dog or a cat person?
Dog, definitely.
Okay.
But over the last 2 years since I met my fiance, she has a cat. First time I've ever had a cat. And I've actually grown to like it.
Okay, all right. So, cat in the future, maybe, or she's got one.
I didn't have a choice anyway.
Oh,
it was either me or the cat that's going.
And guess what? You would lose out, right? Well, cool. Well, so you have a really cool job. You get to travel around the world. Tell me, what's the most memorable tennis match you've ever seen live?
My first one.
Okay.
Billie Jean King and Rosie Cassell.
Wow. Okay.
1981.
Really? Where was it at?
In Johannesburg. It was at the Portuguese Hall, which became the Standard Bank Arena, which is at Ellis Park,
right,
where they used to play Davis Cup back in the 80s. Kevin Curran Day, Johan Kriek Day.
Right.
But,
a little shout out to Johan Kriek out there.
Johan. I mean, I aspired to be like Johan. He was one of my heroes growing up. Tough guy, rugby guy.
Right.
Us South Africans love our rugby. I mean, Johan was a hard worker. I think if he didn't have the work ethic he had and that steely determination, he wouldn't have been half the player. And I think that's a great example to kids out there is physical toughness is important, but mental toughness is even more. And Johan went on to win two Grand Slams.
Right, and you got to have that mental side as well as the physical side.
Absolutely.
So we talk about kids a lot of times. And kids are playing so many sports. I mean, like when you and I grew up, there wasn't as many sports. There wasn't rock climbing classes and skateboard parks. So kids nowadays, but you still hear about the specialization. What's your take on kids in that, say, 10 to 12-year-old range and specializing in tennis versus maybe playing some other sports?
Well, first of all, we've got to see that it isn't the choice of the kid.
Right.
So we've got to look to the root of the problem, and that's usually the parent.
Right.
And this is something I post a lot on with regards parents making the choices for their kid. Whose goal is it? Is it the parent's goal or the kid's goal? But definitely we see that the best players, not just in tennis, but in sport, have come from great athletic backgrounds.
Right.
In fact, 70% of Olympians played more than two or three sports by the age to the age of 14.
Right.
So just the proof is right there. Kids that specialize too early, I'm talking about before 13,
Right.
Are the highest statistics in burnout
Okay.
and injury.
Right.
So that's one
And
area.
two things we don't want. We want kids playing, and we want them to be healthy when they're out there playing. Right.
We want it to be a game for life.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing worse than a kid being put off at a young age by a sport and not wanting to come back, because their memories of that, of being pushed to go to practice. We've got to listen to the words the kids are saying. Are they saying, I need to go to practice, or I want to go to practice?
Right.
And that's the difference.
That's really good stuff. Well, you and I have been lucky this weekend. We've been out here in the desert in Tucson with about 400 awesome tennis players who just have been excited about it. What's your takeaway from this camp that we've done this weekend?
So many. I think this is definitely one Congress where the motivation and energy is incredibly high.
Right.
All conferences and workshops and clinics, whatever you want to call it, have a great energy, but this is definitely an energy, not just an environment and this beautiful area, but also just the attendees as well. They're highly motivated. That's one of the big differences.
It's been awesome, hasn't it?
Quality people, quality food.
Look, you gotta have good food.
And I'm hoping to come back next year. It's my second year now, and I'm blessed to be back, and it just gets better.
That's awesome. Well, you guys have been watching 5 Questions. My buddy, Allistair McCaw. Stick around. We've got more to come. Remember, around the courts, around the world.